The first episode of Disney's Bunk'd drops us right into the world of Camp Kikiwaka, a summer camp set in a semi-magical reality that seems to operate on the logic of a child's imagination. And, as we all know, children are cruel. The first laugh of the show is a light chuckle as we watch our protagonist, Emma Ross, struggle with an inordinately large amount of luggage. It's a beat of physical comedy for the actress, sure, but it also establishes Emma's character as both impractical and materialistic. She is a fish out of water here at summer camp, an outsider who does not belong. Following this beat, we arrive at our first spoken lines, and our first fully scripted joke. Emma sees an adult with a clipboard, and she asks, "Excuse me, sir, can you have these delivered to my room?" It's another fish out of water moment for Emma because summer camps don't have bellboys or luggage service. But the fake audience doesn't react yet because Emma is setting up a punchline for Gladys, the camp director, Emma's new boss. Gladys says, "Geez, you don't shave your legs for 1 month and suddenly you're a sir." Cue the laugh track, but gently, because this is a 1-2 punchline and the joke is still building. The first part of the joke here is that Gladys has violated a common cultural norm. Women are expected to shave their legs, and Gladys didn't, and it has resulted in an awkward social situation. Emma was confused and misgendered her. For some people, for a lot of people, being misgendered is really embarrassing. Gender makes up a pretty core part of the human identity, and it also informs how we are treated in the world by other people. For example, if Emma had known that Gladys was a woman, walking up, she never would have asked Gladys to carry her bags. In our contemporary neoliberal culture, women don't get asked to carry luggage. Hotels don't have bell girls, only bell boys. We truly live in a society. Kikiwaka! So, by mentioning her own body hair and her own failure to maintain it, Gladys's joke takes responsibility for Emma's confusion. Gladys is the adult here, and she drives the dialogue forward. Narratively speaking, we can move on with the scene, and the joke about misgendering could end there. But the scriptwriters take this joke to the next level. As the laugh track settles down for Emma's line, we get the second punch. "I haven't even looked at your legs yet," Emma replies. Absolutely brutal. The line is punctuated with a beat of laughter, and then Emma very deliberately glances down. Her face contorts into a state of disgust. The laughter from the fake audience crescendos. The joke here is that Emma didn't misgender Gladys because of any one obvious thing. Through Emma's eyes, we, the audience, are invited to see Gladys as inherently unfeminine and therefore grotesque. Emma isn't being intentionally rude, but she is revealing her own biases, and she's insulting her new boss. It's a bad start to a new job. This is the opposite of how an employee should treat their employer. And so we laugh at Emma's mistakes. Following this opening exchange, we are introduced to two new characters, Emma's brother and sister, Ravi and Zuri. Ravi sets up the next punchline when he thanks Gladys for allowing his giant monitor lizard, Mrs. Kipling, to come to camp. "I assure you, the odds of her eating any campers are very remote," Ravi jokes. There is a nervous silence from the laugh track as Zuri doubles down on the sentiment. "I would still hide the bite-sized kids," she adds. Both of these jokes are the same joke, but only Zuri gets a laugh because her agent works harder than Ravi's agent. Ravi doesn't get a single punchline in this whole scene, but Zuri gets 3. Ravi, you need better representation. Anyway, through the use of sarcasm, Ravi and Zuri are making a joke about how their exotic pet might be perceived as dangerous. This is a defensive mechanism, anticipating criticism or concern and making light of it. The lizard is written with a self-awareness that most lizards do not possess, and as the laugh track rolls on this joke, the lizard plays along by expressing disappointment. "Wah," Mrs. Kipling croaks. We get the impression that she would eat a camper if she had the opportunity. The scene barrels on as Gladys asks, "Aren't there supposed to be 4 of you?" I should note here that Bunk'd is a spin-off of another Disney show, and this line addresses the continuity between them. Not all of the actors apparently survived their contract negotiations. There is now a character missing from this family. Zuri explains, "Our brother, Luke, got stuck in summer school, probably because he can't spell either of those words." Here, we get another laugh at the expense of this absent brother. Luke would have come to camp if he wasn't suffering the consequences of his own failures as a student. Is he lazy? Stupid? Struggling with mental health? We don't know, but Zuri's delivery is pointed and intentionally cruel. Where we might expect compassion for a loved one, Zuri is openly hostile. That's a reversal of what we might expect, and the laugh track roars. "Check cleared, don't care," Gladys replies to Zuri. Although there's no laugh track response here, the camp director's indifference is certainly played for humor, and further establishes Gladys as a villain. With the Ross family now fully accounted for, the scene is half over. We've been introduced to our characters, our setting, and the tone has been set. So, where's the story going? "Hazel, these are the Rosses," Gladys explains to her niece, who is working at the registration table. Hazel's silent expression of utter disdain triggers the laugh track again. Hazel seems imminently displeased to meet these new members of the community. We don't know why yet, but it's funny because it's cruel. Kikiwaka! We've seen this pattern well established at this point. The fake studio audience loves to see the characters antagonize one another. But the mysterious, hateful glare is quickly explained by Gladys, who, it turns out, has known the Ross family for decades. "I met your parents right here when we were 16, she tells the Rosses, before her gaze wanders up towards the sky. It's as if she's lost in a daydream. "Your dad was a stone-cold fox," she reminisces, before making an animalistic growl. The audience laughs at this bizarre, sexualized behavior. This inherently unfeminine woman is overtaken by her own feelings of desire to the point where she is reduced to wordlessness, like a cartoon wolf shouting "awooga." This kind of abject lust is traditionally reserved for male characters, further distancing Gladys from feminine cultural norms. In response to the sexualization of their father, Zuri turns to Ravi. "Could have gone my whole life without hearing that," she says, and the laugh track picks up again. The punchline here is that children don't like to perceive of their parents as sexual beings. While we were previously laughing at Gladys for being awful, we are now laughing with Zuri, sympathizing with her emotional discomfort. The new character, Hazel, clarifies what Gladys hasn't yet explicitly stated. "My aunt is always talking about your mom. She hates her." The joke is, again, cruelty. And the laugh track plays as the Rosses stare in shock and awe. "With every bone in my body," Gladys elaborates, including my artificial hip. The laugh track sounds again. While Gladys describes her rivalry with the Ross matriarch, she also emphasizes her own old age and the failures of her body. This is another signal to the audience that this inherently unfeminine woman is unsuitable for romance. Like Tantalus reaching for a drink of water forever just out of his grasp, Gladys, too, has been obsessing over her desires since she was a teenager. Now, that obsession has turned to anger. The Ross children, then, serve as a symbol of what Gladys always wanted but never got to have: consummation of her desire for the Ross father. She cannot even bear to look at the Ross children as she laments over her unrequited feelings. "I loved your father, but your mom stole him from me, plus the title of best counselor and any chance I ever had at having a happy life." There's no laugh track here. This is not taken as a joke. These are the circumstances that explain why Camp Kikiwaka's leadership is deeply resentful of the Ross children, and why those children will suffer hostility and cruelty as they attempt to navigate life in their new home. In response to Gladys's confession, Emma takes the opportunity to explain a latent irony that underlies this whole interaction. "No offense, but you guys are the worst welcoming committee ever." Indeed, Hazel and Gladys are doing a terrible job. Instead of making the Rosses feel welcome, they are making them feel unwelcome. That's the opposite of what a welcoming committee is supposed to do. The irony is palpable. With the source of the tension made explicit, Emma realizes that this is not a safe place for her or her family. Note to self, Emma says, typing on her phone, start digging escape tunnel tonight. The joke here is that escape tunnels are usually dug by prisoners in order to escape from prison, not summer camps. By comparing her summer camp experience to the horrors of a prison, Emma is blending sarcasm with hyperbole in order to express that she feels trapped, like a dog in a cage or a fish out of water. She wants to leave this place immediately, but there is no sympathy for Emma. Her concerns are not addressed. Instead, Gladys launches another attack. By the way, phones aren't allowed at camp, Gladys declares. Hand it over. This moment of conflict delights Hazel, who stands at attention. Gladys grabs at the phone in Emma's hand, and Emma resists. She won't let go. The scene reaches its fever pitch of a climax as a physical altercation breaks out. Emma closes the scene with a callback to the very first joke. As she refuses to surrender, Emma snaps at Gladys. No. Back off, mister. She has again misgendered the camp director, but this time she did it on purpose. There's a full, if subtle, character arc written into this scene for our protagonist, a secret structure operating through subtext. Like a snake eating its own tail, the opening scene of Disney's Bunk'd is an Ouroboros that ends where it began. But Emma has changed by the end of the scene. When she arrived at Camp Kikiwaka, she was naive and making honest mistakes. In the course of just 2 minutes, this place has ignited an anger inside of her and a sense of self-preservation. Like a chameleon changing its colors, Emma is adapting to her environment. Her exposure to cruelty has transformed her, and she becomes cruel. Cue the laugh track, roll the theme song. That's how you do a cold open. Kikiwaka!
Excuse me, sir. Can you have these delivered to my room?
Jeez, you don't shave your legs for 1 month and suddenly you're a sir.
I haven't even looked at your legs yet.
Robbie Ross, a pleasure. You must be Miss Gladys, the proprietor. Thank you for letting Mrs. Kipling come to camp. I assure you, the odds of her eating any campers are very remote.
I would still hide the bite-sized kids.
Aren't there supposed to be 4 of you?
Our brother Luke got stuck in summer school. Probably because he can't spell either of those words.
Check clear, don't care. Sign in with my niece. Hazel, these are the Rosses. I met your parents right here when we were 16. Your dad was a stone-cold fox.
Could have gone my whole life without hearing that. My aunt's always talking about your mom. She hates her.
With every bone in my body, including my artificial hip. I loved your father, but your mom stole him from me, plus the title of best counselor and any chance I ever had at having a happy life.
No offense, but you guys are the worst welcoming committee ever. Note to self, start digging escape tunnel tonight.
By the way, phones aren't allowed at camp. Hand it over.
No! Back off, mister!